The first thing we're going to look at here is I want to look at this dotted line right here. This is actually the hardest thing, so I want to talk about it. Oh, my bad. Okay, so y'all know how I always say that I'm ADD, right? So I had a friend come in. My best friend from high school came into Waco, and so we took our families out to eat. And I'm driving to this restaurant, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my kids about something, and I drive right past where the turn-in is. And as I'm passing, they're like, "Dad, right there's the turn-in." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So I circle around, and everybody's making fun of me. And I'm like, "Well, I told y'all I'm ADD. I forget stuff all the time." And as I circle around, as I'm talking to my kids, guess what I did again? I passed it again. And they're like, "Dad!" I'm like, "Dadgummit, quit distracting me. Y'all know I can't do this." So yeah, nothing's changed since the week off. I'm still forgetful. I apologize though. All right. So right here, we've got this dash line. Now, of all the things we talk about, this is the tough one right here. This dash line represents going up and over. We call it rise over run. Well, it's rise over run, but it's got another name. What's that name? It's on this poster right over here where it says rise over run, that second poster. It's pointing to that up and over. It's called slope. Yeah, right here. Pointing to this up and over right there. So that's called the slope. Slope is the one that's not easy. Let's see, what time? Yeah, about 5 minutes. All right, you got to be writing this down. You got a pencil? Need a pencil? Need one? There you go. All right. Now, these are the easy ones right here. These are the easiest questions on the STAR test by far. Anytime that you got a line that's touching the y-axis, does anybody remember what that point's called right there? The y-intercept. We love it. I'm sorry, I just saw your hand. Give me a second. Y-intercept. So, sorry about that. Does anybody else need a pencil? Everybody else is good? Got one. Okay. All right. And then down here where it's touching the x-axis, it's actually got 3 names. Now you can get the 3 names from that poster. I'm going to point here. Anytime it's touching the x-axis, we're going to call these. It does not matter the order, by the way. So it's got 3 names. I always like to put x-intercept first. So that's kind of the name I think of first when it touches the x-axis is x-intercept. It is also called the 0. And then it's also called the solution. Now, some people get upset. Why are there got to be 3 names for this? This is actually a good thing because that means that on the STAR test, they got to test this 3 times. So instead of just having 1 easy question, there's 3 easy questions right there because they got to test each one of these names. Believe it or not, there's actually a 4th name, but I'm not going to write it down. The 4th name is called the root, R-O-O-T, the root, like the root of a tree or something like that. Okay, so it is also called the root. In Algebra 1, we really don't refer to it that way, but it is called the root. Okay, so make sure you're writing these down. Put these down. Okay, put those down. All right, so we want to make sure that we know these because they're really, really easy. All right, so now skipping ahead to this other side, a lot of you already got this filled out. I'm going to start with what I think are the easy ones, which is, what do we call it when it touches the y-axis? It's the same thing as what we called it when it touched the y-axis here. The y-intercept, yeah. So it doesn't matter what the picture is. Anytime it touches the y-axis, it's called the y-intercept. And then the same with this one. Now, this technically has 2 of them, but we're only going to make you write 1 of them. Okay? The points that touch the x-axis are still called the x-intercept, the 0, and the solution. So those right there are really, really easy. Okay, so make sure you write that one in those right there. Okay, so those are the same. So if we know x-intercept, the zeros, the solutions, really, really easy. Okay. because it's the same on both of them. This point right here is what's different on this, the U graph. Now, you're not going to write it, but I will say the U graph is called the parabola, okay? And so this parabola right here, okay, this point, which is at the very top, or if it's upside down, it'll be at the very bottom, okay, affects these three things. Now, first, we call this the vertex. So that's the first name. But unlike, like this has three names, but they're all really the same thing. This vertex, and then the next thing we're going to call this, if it's at the very top, it's the max. Now, I know if you look at this poster, it says max/min, okay? The minimum would only be if it's on the bottom. But here's the thing, unlike these that are all the exact same thing, just a different name, these are different things. So this is the confusing part. And if you can see this poster, then it will help you kind of sort these out. Notice in green right here, it says the vertex is the X and the Y. So right here, we're going to put the vertex as the X, comma, and the Y. But when they're talking about the max or the min, it's just the Y. It is the Y only. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses just to make sure. It's the Y only. So there is a big difference in that. Okay. You got to make sure that if it's the max, it's the Y only. And then last, going through this dot is this line that splits it in half. And anytime that you have something that splits something in half, by the way, we all have this line, by the way, okay? It's called the axis of symmetry. So axis, yeah, that's terrible. The axis of symmetry. Now, most kids that say this wrong, and by the way, there's nothing, like I don't really care if you say this wrong. Most time when kids say this wrong, I don't even say anything. Most kids that say this wrong will say the axis of cemetery, okay? But the cemetery is where you bury dead people, okay? Symmetry is a line that splits something in half. But if you say the axis of symmetry, I'm just going to assume it's because you hate math and you feel like you're dead in this class. So, you know, it won't bother me either way. But the axis of symmetry is the line that splits this in half. Okay, so that this side is equal to that side. And it is the X only, and we make it an X equals equation. So these three all use this point. The vertex is the X and the Y. The max is the Y only. And then the axis of symmetry is the X only. And we'll talk more about that. We'll get more practice on this. We're going to get a lot of practice in this before we get to the start test. Let me go ahead, since he's not back, and get JoJo's been asking, and then when JoJo gets, all right. So make sure you got that written down. Make sure you got all that written down. All right, and I have your patch ready to go. Okay. All right. Ooh, voice crack. I'm not used to taking too much time off with spring break. All right. So let's see. All right. So this right here is asking for the attribute. What is an attribute? An attribute are these words we just got to write down. Okay. So your answers to these questions are going to be all these words that we've been writing down. So we're going to take a look at this. And anytime we see a graph, by the way, this kind of sucks. I told y'all after this year, we don't get this calculator, right? Well, I stinking had to go and type a whole bunch of stuff in and make these pictures. And now I don't even get to use this next year because we're switching stinking calculators. So anyways, do y'all feel special being the last group that gets to use this? No? No special feeling? Okay, all right. All right, so whenever you look at this, wherever the tracer's at, that's what we want to know what the attribute is. So you always ask yourself, is this tracer on one of the axes? Yeah, it's on the y-axis. So if the tracer's on the y-axis, this is called the y-intercept. The y-intercept. Okay, so make sure we're getting all that written down. Make sure you get that written down. Last one. I am hot. All right. So what about this right here? Oh, I completely screwed up on this. I forgot to do something. So this right here is talking about the up and the over, the rise over run. I forgot to remove that. My bad. So what's the answer to this? It's the slope right there. You can just circle it. And what's funny is I remember seeing that and going, oh, I need to remove that right there. Why I didn't do it right away, I don't know. Because obviously I can't remember anything. All right, so number 2, anytime that we're talking about the up and the over, that is rise over run. All right. Number 3. All right, what axis is this right here on? What axis is that touching? The X. So it's got 3 names. So it's got the x-intercept, the 0, and the solution. I don't know if I'm explaining it better or y'all are just more awake, but the fact y'all actually said something just then was like, woohoo! My last class didn't talk hardly at all. All right, and once again, and I know kids today are like, oh my gosh, why do we got to write all these? Because they're so easy. We just want to make sure that we train this today. I went ahead and sent JoJo. And then Marquisiana is going after that. I've already got her pass written. So once again, what axis is this touching right here? The X. So once again, this has 3 names. The x-intercept, the 0, and the solution. Now on the STAR test, they are not going to ask you what the 3 names are. Okay? So they're not going to say, what are the 3 names? They're going to say, what is the 0 of this problem? What is the x-intercept? You just got to know that they're all talking about the same thing here. Okay? So make sure we're writing those down. Okay, good. Yeah. Already moved on. Very good. Very good. Already moved on. Make sure we're getting those written down. Very good. All right. So turn the paper over. All right, so now we're talking about this red line that's splitting that in half. So this is kind of the brand new thing. We call this so right here pointing at, I know a lot of kids are like, oh, this is pointing at the line. This is pointing at the dot. This is pointing at the line. So the line is called the axis of symmetry. You do not have to write out axis of symmetry. I usually put AOS. So axis of symmetry. All right. Right here, this is touching the y-axis right there. So if that's touching the y-axis, what's it called? Y-intercept. Yes, yes, yes. Y-intercept. So y-intercept. I know what you meant. All right, has everybody got that? Give it just another minute or so. We got to make sure. I'll watch as soon as I see him coming down that hallway. All right, number 7. Once again, this is talking about the up and the over. The up and the over. So yes, slope. Sorry, my mom was somewhere else. You're probably not gonna be able to think till you go, so just go real quick. All right, so very good. This is the slope. So yeah, just for a second, right? All right, so this is the slope. All right, so where's this touching? What axis? X-axis. So it's got 3 names. Whoa, what are you doing? All right, so it's got 3 names: the x-intercept, the 0, and the solution. So the x-intercept, the 0, and solution. Like I said, I know you're probably getting tired of writing these today, but you learn these 3 names. That is 3 gimme questions on the STAR test. Super easy questions. So we want to make sure, and we're going to do a lot of this where we're practicing these type of questions up until the STAR test. So we got what? Let's see. We got 2 weeks left in March, and then we got all of April, and then we test at the beginning of May. And so y'all got about a month and a half left, okay? And so for that next month and a half, we're going to be making sure that we're really talking about this kind of stuff because they're really easy questions. All right. Okay, so this is our first shot to see kind of this new stuff. Now, remember, there's a big difference. First off, notice this is the exact same picture. Y'all see that? I mean, the exact same equation. I just copied and pasted it twice. Okay. However, on this one, it's pointing only at the y coordinate. So if you look up here, which of these in green only has a y? It's either the max or the min. So you look at this, if it's at the very bottom, you can see the calculator's telling you here. If it's at the very bottom, it's the minimum. So if it's pointing at the y, it's the minimum. So we'll put min right there. Okay, minimum. Now this one, like I said, it's the same thing, but this is circling the x and the y. So you look back up here. What word has the x and the y? The vertex. So this is called the vertex. So even though it's talking about the same point, it's not the exact same. The vertex is different than the minimum. The vertex is x and y. The minimum is just the y. So that part can be a little tricky. So that's why we want to make sure we practice that part. And really, if you look up here, can y'all see the green from where you're at? Can y'all see that green? So if you're looking at this, you know, and as you do it on the day of the STAR test, you should be able to close your eyes and see that. Okay. So I would look at that a lot. All right. So I had a little bit of space at the bottom of this paper, and we needed to do some review. We want to make sure that we do not forget how to do this right here. Okay. So I'm going to be walking around. I'm going to make sure everybody's typing this into their calculator. So if you do it with me, it makes it go even quicker. All right. So first off, how do I know that this goes to the calculator? Now, I know we've taken spring break off. So I want to remind you of this poster right here. So everybody look at this poster right here. We're obviously always looking anytime it says y equals, or if there's 2 letters, that's a y. But remember, we have a new thing that says if there's no equal sign can go into to graphs. Well, look right here. There's no equal sign. So grab your calculator. So we're going to grab our calculator and we're going to graphs. So open up graphs. So grab your calculator and we're opening up graphs. Okay. So grab your calculator. We want to make sure we remember how to do this. We're opening up graphs. I'm going to cheat off you for a second. We are not allowed to use the letter F, so we have to use X. So we're going to type in 12x squared. Come in. Minus X. Okay, maybe not. I got it. And then what's the last part? Did somebody knock or was I hearing things? Oh, there. All right. And then what was the end part to that? Plus, -6, -6. Marquisiano, we are typing question 11 into the calculator because there's no equal sign. All right, so hit enter. You should get something that looks like that right there. Okay, now, did you type it into the calculator? Number 11. All right, so, oh, I think you forgot. Ooh, what happened there? Does that look like mine? It does. Sure does look right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that blue one. So let me see this real quick. Tab, I'm gonna get rid of that one right there. Get rid of that one. There we go. Okay, so that right there. All right, so because of the fact that we do not, I can't tell where that's crossing. Okay, so we're typing in that right there, 12x squared. So the fact that I cannot tell where this is crossing means we're going to have to type in our answers. But I want to start stressing one more trick. Okay, from the center here, this is the positive side, that's the negative side. If I've got one positive and one negative, when I look at my answers, there should be one positive and one negative, which means it can't be A has two positives. It can't be A. C has two negatives. Can't be C. It has to be either B or D. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so we're going to type in B. Now remember, the rule is, what color is this? Brown. Yeah. So if you see this brown, you have not found your answer. If you continue to see brown. So we're going to hit tab and we're typing in, I think it was B. Is that right? So we're typing in B. So we got parentheses 3x plus 2, close parentheses. Oh, did I put plus 2? I'm sorry. That should be -2, shouldn't it? I'm typing in B, yeah. -2. And then parentheses 4x plus 3. Now, keep your eyes on the brown. I still see some brown right there. Do y'all see that? Okay. You should not be able to see any brown at all. So even though this is close, is this the answer? No, you should not be able to see that brown at all. Now, sometimes on y'all's calculators, you have to roll over it like this. So like you have to, it's kind of hard to tell, but if you roll over it, you can kind of tell that you see both. Okay. All right, so let's type in, I'm going to switch this, go up. I'm going to switch this to a -3 and a +2. All right, hit enter. And this went right on top of it. You can't see anything right there. Okay, so the answer would be D. I can't see any brown. All I see is blue right there. What did I hit? No thing. All right, so the answer would be D. So, like I said, if you are struggling with that right there, we need to make sure that we definitely work with y'all on that. The only kids I think that struggled with this just didn't even do anything when we tested. I think everybody else got this right. Now, if you struggled on test day, you struggle with this right here. A lot of people were getting these wrong, okay? So we just need to practice these a little bit more. So once again, does this have an equal sign here? No. If there's no equal sign, then we're going to go type this in the calculator. So everybody go start a brand new graph. So go home and start a brand new graph. Start a brand new graph. Told you. Let's go. Got to be doing this. You got to be doing this. Come on. All right. Start a brand new graph. I think you might have hit menu 5.1. Menu 4.5. We want to see yeah, there you go. Now you'll be able to kind of see. All right. So let me type this in. Some of y'all are ahead of me real quick. So let me type this in. I got to find somebody to cheat off of. Can I cheat off you? All right. So we got x squared plus x minus 20. Thank you. All right. So this is what it should look like. Now, here's how this one is different. When you look at these answers right here, there's not two of them. There's only one. And so as you start typing these in, so like if I type in 5m plus 1, so I hit tab 5x plus 1, it's not going to match. It's not going to make this change colors. How do I know what my answer is? Do y'all remember how to do this? When it touches one of the x-intercepts, so remember these are called x-intercepts or zeros. If this x-intercept is the same as one of these, it's my answer. This is not touching the x-axis in the same spot. That's not my answer. So we're going to hit tab. And I think the next one is x plus 5. Hit enter. And look at that right there. They have the same x-intercept. If they have the same x-intercept, that's my answer. This was the one y'all really struggled with. Okay? Was that one right there. So we want to make sure that we're getting better at this. Okay? All right. Why do I keep going there? All right. So the answer would be B. So we just want to make sure we don't forget, and this is brand new, but it's huge on the STAR test. So we want to make sure, even if you're not good with it, like when we tested last week, we need you to become good with it in the next month and a half. Okay? Because this is very important on the STAR test. All right. So now we're going back to the attributes. All right. So what axis is this touching right here? So what axis is this touching? The X. So it's got 3 names. So, and it doesn't matter the order. I know I always start with x-intercept, but it does not matter the order. 0. Going really slow. Or solution. So all 3 names. Okay, this is not touching the x-axis or the y-axis. It's close to the y-axis, but it's not touching it. So your first thought is like, oh, this is vertex or something, but this is only pointing to the x. Vertex has an x and a y, so that's not it. Minimax has only a y. So what has only the x? Axis of symmetry has only the x. So when they're just looking for the x, it's axis of symmetry, AOS, axis of symmetry. And like I said, don't hesitate. Don't ever think, oh, I don't want to cheat. I want to see if I can get in my own head. The more you look at this poster, the more it just sets in your brain. And you can almost close your eyes and see it. Okay. All right, so right here, what axis is that touching? Touching the x-axis, right? So this has three names: x-intercept, 0, and solution. All right, this one is not touching the y-axis and it's not touching the x-axis, but this is at the very top. And it's circling both the x and the y. So which of these would have the x and the y here? Now remember, vertex has the x and the y. So this is a vertex. All right. Now, this is the same picture. So notice all three of these pictures are the exact same. But this time we're pointing at the x only. So it's not the vertex, that's x and y. The min and the max is just the y. So what's the x only? Axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry, AOS. And then what's the y only? The y only would be either the max or the min, and this is at the very top. So if it's at the very top and you can see it's got the name for you, it's the max. All right. And then once again, we're doing some review questions that we want to make sure, super easy questions. I wish there was a million of these on the STAR test. Usually there's 2 of these on the STAR test. So if we can continue to have 2 of these on the STAR test, that's awesome. Because that's 2 really easy questions, I hope. I hope you remember how to do these. Where do you do these in the calc? Where do you do these? In regular calculator. So grab your calculator and we're going to regular calculator. Okay, we're going to regular calculator. Okay, go to regular calculator. Go to regular calculator. We're typing that in. All right, so we're typing in. So go to regular calculator. Go to regular calculator. And we're typing in the square root. Remember, to get the square root, you hit Control X squared. Control X squared. You get it? Yes. Oh, yeah, I don't ever carry cash. All right, so we got 48, and then you hit enter. Now, this 6.9, I personally would write it down. You don't have to write it down, but I would write down 6.9. Okay. And then we're typing in our answers. So we're going to type in 4 square roots of 5. So 4 square roots of 5. Hit enter. Is this my answer? No, it doesn't match. We're typing in 4 square roots of 7. So 4 square roots of 7. That doesn't match. What was C? 4 square roots of what? 3? Ah. 4 square roots of 3. And that does match. So guys, we don't ever want to forget how to do that. That was super, super easy. Okay, so we want to make sure that we always remember how to do that. All right, let's do the next one. So the next one was the square root of 27. All right, see if you can find that one real quick. See if you can find that one real quick. Actually, I just looked at the time, and I'm going to go ahead and, I think it was 3 square roots of 3. 3 square roots of 3, B. Yep, so the answer is B, 3 square roots of 3. Oh, we were a little bit further than what I thought. Okay, so that being said, we don't want to forget this easy. So we're always talking about, we do not want to forget the easy ones, okay? So what do you see here that makes this easy? Like, why are you going to be excited to see this on the STAR test? What do you see that says this is easy? Yeah, this f of x makes a y, doesn't it? This is all put into graphs right here. Anytime we see the two letters, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be F and X, any two letters that equal, we can type this into the calculator. So let's go type this in. Now this does have a 3 here, so that can be kind of tricky. All right, so go to graphs. So remember it's, stupid. Go to graphs. All right, so this is your y equals. You're typing in what comes after. I got to cheat. So we got minus 2x. How do you do to the third power? Y'all remember? Yes, the house top. Very good. So you hit this house top, and then you'll hit the 3. Now, the problem is if you keep typing, it's going to keep everything small. So you have to hit to the side or down one time, and then you can keep going. So we're typing in minus 2x squared and plus 1. Now it gives you this really weird graph, but we don't care about that, okay? When we look back at this, look back at our paper, I don't see any words that mean anything to me. None of these words say do something, but I do see something. What do you see here? So we type this in. What do you see that tells me what to do? The number 4, when we see a random number, remember we hit menu 5-1. Y'all remember that? Menu 5-1. And then we type in that extra number. They give me an extra number, type it in. So I'm going to type in that extra number, hit enter. And at 4, it gives me a negative 159. Is that an option? See it somewhere. Yep, it's A. So we do not want to forget how to do those right there. All right. Number 22. What do we see that you should love to see here? You see this on the STAR test, you're like, oh, yes, I got this one. We see y equals. So once again, now the y equals are in the answers, but we see these y equals, we can plug this into the calculator. Now, I get that, you know, it's kind of a pain in the butt to type all of those in, but it's when you're guaranteed to get that question and you don't have to spend any more time with me in the summer, you know, or you don't have to take the STAR test 7 or 8 times to try to graduate, it's worth it to type all these in. So let's type in A, 4x minus 10. So I'm going to go start a brand new one and go 4x minus 10. Hit enter. All right, we're going to hit menu 5-1. And we're typing in these extra numbers. I'm going to keep doing that. So we're typing in -2 and see if it gives me -2. So we're going to type -2. It did not. All right, so let's try to switch. Okay, I can guarantee it's not going to be B. Does anybody remember why? It switches both of the signs. All that's going to do is give me, what was it, a positive 18? It's going to give me a negative 18. So it's definitely not these two. So let's switch this to a -4. So we're going to hit tab, go up, and I'm going to put a -4 right here. Minus, hit enter, menu 5-1. And then we're typing in, what was the number again? -2. So -2, -2, -2. And then remember, you always need to check. So -3, see if it gives me +2. And -3 and +2 work. So the answer is going to be C.